My name is Brian Cushing. I'm the program director at Locust Grove, and most of us are working remotely right now because of the current health circumstances. So I'm coming to you from home today with another historic cocktail video. So this one is again from Jerry Thomas's Bartender's Guide of 1862. Jerry Thomas was a legendary bartender from the Gold Rush era on past the Civil War, and a lot of these probably weren't his own inventions or recipes, but he was one of the first, to actually write down the bartender's trade. Up to that point, it was pretty much something that was passed on from master to apprentice, just like any other trade. And so, in 1862, what's going on at Locust Grove? The last owner who had lived there, even though he probably hadn't been living there for a while, had been shot and killed in the Civil War in November of 1861. In West Virginia, and so the property was to go to his young son, who was too young to manage by that point, so it was being managed by other people, and it was most likely leased at that point. The cocktail that we're going to make today, we're stuck inside, stuck at home. If you're doing the responsible thing, you're having as little contact with people as possible. So is it 5 o'clock somewhere? It might be. Does it matter? Because we're not going anywhere. So we're going to just kind of we're going to take a little bit extra time to do something a little fancy today. It's called the Parisian Pousse Cafe. All right, it says, and Jerry Thomas says, it's the celebrated Parisian drink, and it's something that hasn't disappeared. But I've found that this is has a few less ingredients than some of the modern recipes I've seen for the Pousse Cafe. So let's see what we're going to need. Curacao, that's easy enough. This is kind of the run-of-the-mill. There's fancier stuff out there you can get, but if we're trying to minimize contact, we're going to use what we have. And then some Kirschwasser and Chartreuse. Well, I'm going to have to take a trip to the cellar for that. Let's see if we have that stored up downstairs. I'll see you there. Okay. I've made it to the cellar. Let's see if I can find what we're looking for. Chartreuse. And there's the Kirschwasser. Here we go. Okay. We're back. That was lucky. So, Kirschwasser is... it's a cherry brandy from the Black Forest region of Germany, and you can see it's a clear brandy, so kind of like the video that you saw that we did a while back about apple brandy at Locust Grove, how it was in its clear form. This is cherry brandy in its clear form. And Chartreuse is a secret formula made by the Carthusian monks for centuries. It is wonderful stuff. If you've never had it, all I can describe it as, think of everything good about being in an alpine forest early in the morning on a crisp, clear winter day, and that's what it feels like when you drink it. So, again, this is the Pousse Cafe. It's a Parisian drink. Why are we talking about Paris? The Crons didn't always just stay put in Kentucky. They were traveled people, and in 1832, Charles Cron, John Cron, who was a doctor, took his little brother Charles Cron to France to try to treat his tuberculosis. Unfortunately, he did die in Paris in 1832, in September of 1832, and he is buried there to this day. Now, at the same time, there was a cholera epidemic sweeping through Louisville. George Hancock was the owner of Locust Grove at the time. He was married to one of the Cron daughters, Eliza, and so they were kind of the heads of Locust Grove at that point. And he wrote about this cholera epidemic in 1832, but he was confident that this was something that was only affecting the cluttered lower sort, all right? It wasn't going to touch them, they were immune. Well, guess what? The next year, 1833, his wife, Eliza, contracted cholera and died in July. So, let that be a lesson to us right now, in the middle of this coronavirus thing. If you don't think it means you, It could. Don't be like George Hancock. The virus doesn't care. So let's launch into the beverage itself, the Pousse Cafe. It's a very simple one to mix. We are going to take an ounce of the Curacao first, and if you want to know kind of the Victorian measurement, an ounce is half of a Victorian wine glass. That's the size of a Victorian wine glass. If you're following along at home and you don't have any cocktail equipment, an ounce is just 2 tablespoons. So we're going to put 2 tablespoons of the Curacao in our glass. And we are going to do the same with the Kirschwasser, our white Black Forest cherry brandy. And then half an ounce of our chartreuse, and so that's just 1 tablespoon if you're following along at home with no cocktail equipment. And there we have it. Mix it. This does not require shaking, just mixing. And this is all that Jerry Thomas has you doing. And I will tell you, it's tasty, but it's very strong. It's very syrupy. Okay, and the Victorians, by and large, had a serious sweet tooth. So maybe this is what they were looking for. So if you just want to do the straight Victorian way, as Jerry Thomas describes it, you can keep it like that. For my purposes, honestly, I like to put in an ice cube and just a splash of soda water. And that kind of makes it a little bit smoother and easier to take, a little bit more of a pleasant experience. And so it's a unique thing. It's not really like what we think of from the classic cocktails. It's a kind of a syrupy, kind of a spicy, sweet, aromatic kind of thing. So it's a unique experience. I'm actually going to put another ice cube into that. So if you're looking for something different to pass the time while you're stuck at home during this whole pandemic thing, try out an old cocktail like this, have a pleasant afternoon, and we're going to have more of these coming out. We're going to be keeping content coming at you from Locust Grove remotely, whether we've stopped into the site or whether we're at home. So we're still going to be working to try to bring history to you, so stick with us, and we are looking forward to seeing you back on site as soon as possible. Here's to you, the Pousse Cafe.